welcome to the Everyday Romantic. I'm Tammy Gibbs, and today we're going to be doing a video on dinner to date night, turning an ordinary meal into something extraordinary. And if you're like us, you spend a lot of time in front of the TV with takeout. And what we're going to try to do today is give you some alternatives so that you can reconnect with your spouse or your significant other in fun ways without going to a whole lot of trouble. And so, it's basically like taking ordinary moments and doing something a little bit special with them. So, as you see from the illustration, we are going to be going from that ordinary scene of, takeout with cups and cartons and paper bags, and trying to transform it into something a little bit more special, whether it is in front of the TV still, maybe the TV off, hint, hint, but, nowadays they actually, and this isn't in any of the slides, but they actually have like screensavers that if you want to still keep that TV on and you want to cast some mood music and some mood scene, like if you wanted to have a waterfall or something going on, or you wanted to set a fire. If you don't have a fireplace, you can get the little fire scene. So there's some little options to still having the TV on without being distracted by it, just to help enhance the mood. But anyway, so this particular one is setting up your place settings and everything on, if you have a coffee table, then you can put some pillows down on the floor and you're just doing a new atmosphere, create some soft warm lighting, a little bit of attention and thoughtful details goes a long way. The biggest thing is to create an intentional connection with your spouse or your significant other. So you can add a few simple changes and create a really nice night to remember. So, all right, so basically the first step is to clear all your everyday clutter. So whether you're doing it on the dining room table, and just looking at my dining room or my the table that we eat at right now, it tends to become sometimes a receptacle for everything as we come in the door, and we just put things on it and then we have to clear it back off to actually use it for a table. So that happens in my household. I'm pretty sure it probably happens in yours. So we have to be a little bit more intentional. So we want to clear away mail. That's one of the things that gets laid on there until I can take and move it into the office. Any chargers, like if you're traveling, a lot of times you just like empty your purse or whatever, and you've got all these chargers that you've taken with you. Any kind of paperwork, remote controls, on the coffee table. If you have extra chairs, you can remove those away. You can leave them, but you can make it a little bit more intimate setting if you're using your little casual eating table, or you can go into the dining room where typically there's not as much chaos as there is. And then, of course, bright, distracting screens. We already kind of talked about what you can do in that situation. So now we're going to concentrate on how to create a table for two, just a few little tips and hints. So you can move your place settings together a little bit more. Like, for instance, if you have a really large table, maybe you set, one sets at the end, one sets at the closest angle. You kind of want to be a little closer together for this particular evening. If you don't have a dining room table, you can optionally, if you happen to have or know a neighbor or a friend or a family member that may have one of the little card tables, you can always take and throw a pretty tablecloth across a little table to create you one. Again, you can always use a coffee table if you have one of those. So there are different, places and ways to do it. If you already, some folks really, and some women really enjoy leaving their table kind of set up more as a decorative element. I think in most cases, when most people do that, they tend not to eat at that table. So a lot of times that's in the dining room or something where it's, it's more of a staging kind of decorative effect. And so if that's the case, you want to remove any of those extra place settings. You want to keep your centerpiece down low, especially if you're going to be talking to one another over it. You don't want some big, flower arrangement that's going to be blocking your view. So keep any sort of flowers or candles or anything like that you're using in the center down low. You also want to leave room for your serving and, like I said before, make sure that nothing is interfering with your conversation. And an intentional table sets the stage for connection, simple touches, meaningful moments. Here are some of the suggestions. You can get flowers from your yard, put some greenery from some of your shrubs in like a pitcher. That's a very no cost options. Candles on a tray. You can use a bowl of fruit. You can even put a picture of the two of you or something like that. Simple details help to create a lasting memory. Use your everyday dishes a little bit differently. Okay, so what you want to do is elevate what you already have, so you don't necessarily have to go out and buy new dishes. You just may want to put a tablecloth. Even everyday dishes look better on top of a tablecloth, or perhaps some placemats, using cloth napkins, or even if you're going to use paper, you could like tie them up with a little ribbon, or fold them in a cute shape. Just be creative with it. You can stack your plates on top of one another to kind of give you a little bit more restaurant-y feel. Use real silverware, and also using small dishes for things like it shows, like for like bread and things like that. That can just bring in that going out to eat kind of feel without you having to spend the money, or not have that personal space that doing this at home will give you. It's great to go out to a restaurant to eat and everything, but sometimes you can actually get a little bit closer when you're doing it at home. And so it's just another option. You can go out to eat one weekend, but maybe you can't afford to go every weekend, so you want to look for some ways you can still get that experience without having to spend the extra money. Mix and match your everyday and thrifted pieces, candelabras. You want to use real glasses instead of casual cups. So I prefer the little pedestal glasses. In one of the other videos, I was saying how I don't drink alcoholic beverages, but I love the fancy glasses. So those are kind of my treat, is to drink whatever I'm drinking, whether it be lemonade or tea or, fruit punch or, juices. I love the pretty glasses. And to me that, definitely elevates everything. Okay, so you're going to want to choose your meal approach, because this also can either be a high stress point or it can be more casual. So decide what you want to do. Either you're going to cook something familiar or special to the two of you, but a lot of times cooking can add extra stresses, so you don't necessarily have to fall back on that unless that's just your thing and that's going to be part of your experience. Then, feel free to do that. But don't feel bad if you fall back on number 2 or 3, which is assemble something special. Like you could have a charcuterie, salad, sandwiches, or dessert boards, and just kind of have more of almost an hors d'oeuvre kind of meal. You can also plate takeout. So go to your favorite restaurant, grab the takeout that you particularly really like, the two of you. Some ideas would be like Chinese or Japanese, hibachi dishes with rice and stuff, where you can get a bigger amount and then you split it into the bowls. You just want to remove those cartons and everything. And here's some ways that you can do that. You always want to take your takeout. If you're going to bring in takeout to serve, then you're going to want to take it out of the cartons. Even if it's a pizza, you're going to want to take that out, put it on some sort of pretty tray, or, go ahead and plate those up. And you're going to want to use serving dishes when appropriate. You're going to want to pour your drinks into real glasses. You want to have bread, garnishes, and also maybe a little small side. and then you want to save dessert for later. You know, a simple treat served later gives the evening sort of a little sweet ending to look forward to. Okay, so add one shared element. A small shared moment makes the meal feel more like a date. Number 1, a shared appetizer. 2, bread or dipping oil. 3, a dessert for 2. You can like end the date with like a dessert for 2. That just makes it interactive. And you can also use like a center of the table little tasting board, or maybe something for, instead of a dessert, you do the tasting board then. Okay, create anticipation. So before it ever starts, you can create a little anticipation with a handwritten note, so that leaving it somewhere they'll find it. You can text an invitation. You can do a tonight at 7 card, or 5, or whenever you're going to meet kind of thing, just to set the tone. You can also put a menu card at the table, which is kind of a little neat little surprise and personal touch that you can use. A little anticipation always helps an ordinary dinner feel like a real date. Add the soundtrack. Music often helps shift the evening out of an everyday routine. A lot of times we don't normally do that. We don't normally set music in the background. There's a couple of different ways you can do it. With soft background music, you can use like, record player and play something nostalgic. You know, if you've got some vinyl, you can have a cassette tape somewhere, or a CD player somewhere. Whatever you have, use. You can also use your phone. You know, just pull up, your music apps and pick out your playlist and do it that way. You can also, as I had mentioned earlier, you could use your TV as background. You can often flip it around to music stations, or you can pull up YouTube and have something that's creating some ambience, as far as, like a fireplace scene, or like I was talking about, waterfalls, or that kind of thing, mood music. Add one personal detail. So this could be your spouse or significant other's favorite drink, a flower they love, a meaningful photo to the two of you, a remembered dessert that you shared sometime previously that means something to you, a little handwritten note at their place setting. One thoughtful detail makes the evening feel especially theirs. Put the household roles on pause. Meet as partners, not just as household managers. Phones away. And I've talked about this in previous videos. I understand. I have, parents that need me. I have a child that has children of his own, and I never want to be completely out of pocket to reach them. However, we can. You can wear a smartwatch or something like that, where in the event that you had to, you can just glance and you can ignore those things. I know that's a little bit of an interruption to a romantic night, but there's nothing more catastrophic than having something bad happen and then your family not being able to get in touch with you, and how you would feel about that. So I'm an advocate of putting them away to a certain degree. But I think it's really more about the commitment, not to just answer, every little call. You can glance and put it aside, and most of us can kind of ignore that. But, if you're on there and you're flipping through Facebook, then that's going to be a whole different story. So no bills or paperwork, no discussions of that sort of thing if you can help it. Turning off the TV, or like I said, using the TV as your mood setting device rather than an entertainment setting device while you're eating. Cleaning up ahead of time, planning for it a little bit. It doesn't have to be really stressful, but it's kind of like the more the time that you kind of put into the plan, the more special it becomes, and the more excited you even become. I mean, if you're doing something for someone else to make it special, because it's typically not something both of you would do together, although you could do I'm going to hold off on that idea because that's going to be another video. But anyway, you can, if you're doing it, kind of to surprise or to do something special for your spouse or your significant other, then you also want to be invested. And, if you do all these little special things, that helps to grow your excitement and anticipation as well. The biggest goal is to focus on each other, ask, listen, laugh, and be present. Give the conversation somewhere to go. So these are some little ways that you can do that. A little direction helps the evening move beyond the everyday. Something playful. You can create your own little conversation starter cards. You could put them in, just write little slips of paper, stick them in a jar, and then take turns pulling them out and then talk about that subject. You can use trivia cards. You can do whatever you want. What made you laugh this week? If we had a theme song, what would it be? What's your guilty pleasure? You can also share something remembered. Like, for instance, you could put out your wedding photo album and flip through it together, just to have shared memories. Something you're looking forward to. You can bring out a little journal, and then the two of you can brainstorm what your next date's going to look like, what your next event's going to look like, your next trip, things you'd like to do together. The goal is connection, not a perfect script. Save something for later. A little anticipation inside the evening keeps the day unfolding. So going beyond the meal into dessert for later, a handwritten note that promises something special you're going to do, whether it be a special movie that you're going to watch or whatever. You can have coffee or tea, one more song. So here's kind of the little dinner to date formula. Simple changes turn an ordinary meal into something memorable. Different setting. If you're used to eating at the table, try eating at the coffee table and fixing it up, or on the floor, or on the back patio, or the porch, or set up under your favorite tree. Set up a little set up outside to eat at. So do something different. Soft atmosphere with candles. I'm always a little leery of candles and fire, but now they have you can get the mood using the LED flameless candles, so you can always have that if you don't want to use the live fire. Anticipation, including little notes, whether it be just on on their plate or on the table waiting for them. Personal details, undivided attention. All that equals a really intentional date night. Okay, so your romantic dinner layers, you've got to clear the space, choose the setting, add linens, soft light, start the music, make it personal, set the table for two, keep food simple, add shared elements, and end the evening by extending it, or in the meal by extending the evening with dessert or coffee or whatever, maybe watching a movie or doing something else. Start with what you have and build from there. Do not let dinner be the whole date. A simple transition helps the evening feel like an experience. End with dessert, share a slow dance maybe, move everything to the porch. You can take a walk after you eat. A small next step helps the evening linger. So one romantic dinner is a start, but if you want to keep the romance going, check out my new book, The Everyday Romantic Playbook, The Date Your Spouse, or The Everyday Romantic. It's the Date Your Spouse Again playbook, and whether you're married or not, if you just have a significant other, it's still a great reference for creating a reconnection. It has romantic rendezvous, music and movie inspiration, thoughtful gestures, reconnection tools, ways to keep dating your spouse. So one ordinary dinner, intentional evening, and a memorable date. Start with what you already have, change a few ordinary details, then slow down and enjoy each other. And I hope you'll check out the everydayromanticplaybook.com for more ideas and how to order the playbook. Until next time, may all your days and nights be filled with romance.